After over 25 years of marriage, we've learned that successful couples have great friendships, put each other first, and focus on light just as much as love. We believe marriage should be fun and easy.
Our goal is to share our journey with the hopes of helping others build strong, happy relationships. Join us as we continue to create our lives beyond I do.
We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We're just simply sharing y'all how we navigated through our marriage. Now, on with the show. All right, welcome back to the Beyond I Do podcast, and we have a special guest. We reached out to some people who we wanted to have on our podcast, and this young lady here has just brightened our life up. We met her, and we probably are on the meeting interview for, I don't know, what was it, 45 to an hour?
It was
felt like she was one of our kin folks.
Yep.
And we still feel that way today. So we have Mrs. Entrepreneur Kandice with the K, host of the Bail Yourself Out podcast. She is a business entrepreneur. She knows her stuff. So welcome, Kandice with the K.
Woo! Oh, thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed. When we first met, it definitely was vibes. I was not expecting that at all. Yes. But y'all are my kind of people, like you regular. You know, we've been out here in the podcast world for quite a bit, and you get some other folks who might be a teaspoon more ghetto than I generally like. But y'all my kind of people.
Look, in addition, we're also joined by the one and only boy.
Okay, because I was going to say,
our son,
am I like chopped liver? I was trying to figure out. Okay, you were. You mentioned it in the term of ghetto-ness, but it's okay.
There's nothing wrong with ghetto. Let me be very clear. I am hood and
it's definitely not. You just need a nice balance of ghetto.
No. Tell her what you call me.
Light-skinned ratchet.
There you go.
But you got to know how to turn it off. You know what I mean? Like, let's have a regular conversation.
Right.
Like,
she's a professor, teacher, so she knows.
There's levels. My girl ain't mad all the time. Like, why you mad all the time?
Right.
And that's I think that's what I think is so misunderstood about Black people. I'm going on a little tangent because it's Black History Month. We have layers. You know, we're not one thing at one time. And I just wish that we were able to be granted that same view that we give others in this country.
Fair.
You
still shouldn't walk around mad all the time.
We give a lot of nuance, a lot of the problems that are going on in this world. We are very more outspoken, sometimes it feels like, than others, you know, in terms of our problems. It can feel kind of like we're just out here fighting for ourselves sometimes. Just my thoughts. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels like that, but.
No, I don't disagree. I think you're totally right. I think it reminds me of, I cannot remember that little white lady's name. I think her first name is Jane, and she did this experiment on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Jane,
And And I think advocacy is important, right? Because what did Zora Neale Hurston say? You know, you got to say when somebody's hurting you, otherwise they'll kill you. I'm paraphrasing, and they'll say you liked it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when your advocacy falls on deaf ears, and we got to keep saying the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Because the truth of the matter is, in some spaces, ain't nothing changing because they don't really want to.
Right.
They ain't going to say that. They're just going to ignore us.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Right. So, you know, as a person of a certain age, I understand what that looks like. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you can't show up in spaces and places and be mad all the time. That's not acceptable nowhere.
Right.
I said what I said.
And it's not healthy.
Right.
Like, it's not healthy.
Because you're angering yourself, whereas other people are just like, okay, on to the next thing, you know.
My dad says, he says being angry is like peeing on yourself. You're the only one who feels the warmth and discomfort from the anger. So that's
that part.
Like, so you could walk around angry and no one even knows because you're fuming on the inside.
And don't give a damn.
Did he say that?
That part.
Yep.
No, people don't really care.
Tomato.
Nah. Yeah, they don't care that much.
I get it though. I feel him on that.
So, as a career change coach, is that correct? How about this? Tell us what it is that you do.
Yeah, let's do that.
Tell us.
Sure. So I'll tell you what I do. I am CEO of Alpha and Omega Consulting, where we do anything related to change management in an organization. So whether that be training, developing web-based training, event planning, project management, those are the main things that we do. A couple of years ago, during the pandemic, I decided that I wanted to get into career coaching specifically, not life coaching, because I was like, listen, baby, I can't be listening to all your problems. I don't really know. I ain't going to be able to help you with that. But I can help you pimp out corporate situation. So for people who are looking to change their career, maybe looking to change from being a full-time employee into being an entrepreneur, maybe growing or scaling their businesses, I can talk to you about those things all day long. Because I really have a passion for people of color, the seasoned diaspora. That's what I call us. That's what we are. You know, we come from different places, whether it be the Caribbean, Africa, but we are one people. And I have a passion for seeing us do good, man.
Right.
And there's no reason we can't all do good. And there's no reason that I can't take the information that I learned along the way and help somebody else. You know, so the conversations that I have on my podcast, and even for the people that I'm coaching, it's like I'm talking to 25-year-old Kandice. You know, I was this person who was really eager. I graduated college and, you know, I was 25 and I got my first job with a pension. Boy, I was doing it. But I wasn't happy. And I couldn't understand why, right? I felt like I was supposed to be happy here. My grandmothers was all proud of me. They was talking to their friends about me, and I didn't want to be a disappointment. But on Sundays at 3:00, I remember getting headaches thinking about going into work.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was working with a bunch of middle-aged white women who was not excited about my 25-year-old black ass being over there in the cube with them.
Oh,
so many levels.
And I just want to point out real quick, that transcends regardless of what job field you're in. Fast food. Fast food. And I'm not
Ain't nobody tell me, baby.
I'm not here to diminish anyone's job because at the end of the day, we all make the world spin, whatever your job position is. I have respect from anybody from the janitor to the this president. But I will say the president in general. You know what I'm saying? I have the same amount of respect that you have for anybody else. So service workers matter. But even in fast food, you will run into that attitude. And it's like, you know, you have this racism, this classism, this elitism or whatever because of our difference in skin tone. Baby, we on the same bottom rock totem of the pole. Like,
but it shows you that is America in itself. So how do we navigate through these issues?
Exactly. Because that privilege.
I mean, well, didn't Martin Luther King speak to this, right? Martin Luther King spoke to this. This is not new. He was like, look, they trying to tell you that the privilege of being white is going to fill your empty belly. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
No, he said, I have a dream that the kids can play together.
That was later.
He realized.
That was later.
He realized.
He came back and said.
He went to the mountaintop. You know, it was funny because the speech was 63. I Have a Dream speech was 63. After the I Have a Dream, he woke up and realized that this is a mistake.
Not woke up.
He got
tired.
Right.
I've always identified more with Malcolm than Martin.
By any means.
And I realized that's a part of my rebelliousness. And I'm okay with that. Because you can't bring peace to people who don't wish peace upon all. And that's what Martin wanted in the end. Whether or not he went about it the right or wrong way, you know, we weren't in that time. We can't tell him he was right or wrong. But it's very true that we are existing in a system that says you don't deserve to even exist, much less prosper, thrive, have well-being for your children and your lineage.
They didn't
navigating
have a plan.
that has been.
They didn't have a plan beyond slavery.
Definitely. And I mean, to be fair, we were given, no race has been through what we have been through. And navigating that, I try to give a lot of grace when I see us act out in certain ways, from the Futures to the Sexy Reds to the not even the non-entertainers, whatever stories pop up. I try to give a lot of grace because at the end of the day, we are all unhealed and going through this journey together. We don't prioritize mental health. We don't prioritize getting the steps to even be able to listen to a life coach such as yourself, or a career coach. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Because if you feel like, and I think that's one of our biggest downfalls as Black people, we feel like can't nobody tell us anything about us.
Right.
And that's not true. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you do need guidance. You do need somebody who on the outside looking in,
A lot of times though, there's change that comes with getting older and with growth. And you realize, like Kandice said, 25-year-old Kandice saw things differently.
Yes. And I'm 26, so I can attest to that.
Right. And you see that baby is militant. And that being militant, sometimes it's hard to turn it down or pick and choose when to display that.
Yeah.
But as you get older and you're trying to move through spaces, you realize that, okay, I need to tone it down in this level so that I get to the next level, and then I'm going to tune it up.
Yeah.
Because once I get to that level, that's when I can make a change. That's when I can make a difference.
And even now, I work in fine dining, so I definitely have had to tune it down quite a bit in a couple of situations where, I just heard "Nuck If You Buck" in the background of my head. But
so, Kandice, can you tell us about the journey from corporate to your entrepreneurship? What was the awakening for you? What was the point where you were like, I can't put up with this anymore?
That's a great question. I want to go back for just a second though, because I'm like dying because you said so many things that I wanted to respond to, but I was like, I don't want to overlap and make this editing crazy.
But we told you that this is a family conversation, so let's do it.
So I will say this to my young buck friend. Check out the writings and the musings of Martin Luther King late in his life when he transitions more to being like Malcolm because his ass was tired, just like we are.
He was.
And I would also urge you to check out, there was a phenomenal documentary called King in the Wilderness. Best documentary I've ever seen on Martin Luther King. And I thought I knew everything about Martin Luther King. I actually was watching it on a plane, coming or going from somewhere, I don't even know. And it sent me into the ugly cry. I was on the ugly cry in my window seat. It was bad. It was bad. We went to the ugly cry.
I'm looking it up now.
So definitely check that out. But the reason I think that was such a phenomenal take on Martin Luther King, I think so often he's idealized to the point where he's not even like a person. He's like a superhero. And to hear his friends speak of him, to be like, yo, he was scared. I was like, yeah, I bet he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was around that age that he was when he died, 38, when I initially saw it. So it was really impactful for me because I'm thinking of me. And then the other thing that they talked about that I'd never heard of before, Martin Luther King's father was on there. And they talked about his dad telling him, boy, you better stop.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God, I could see myself as a parent doing that.
38. Like, that's mind blowing because like you say, he's not even a real person at this point. It's this, you have this image, you see this man and aging has changed over the generations. Yeah. So I think he was 38, but then in my mind that he seemed like he was so much older, but it was the wisdom and the life and the journey that he lived.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing that you touched on that I really, really wanted to talk about, you talked about no plan for us to thrive beyond slavery. Well, the truth of the matter is, split things. We really wanted slavery to end. And in some places, it didn't end until 1960. It's a whole different conversation. Right. It was called sharecropping.
Yep.
Right, absolutely.
Exactly.
Right. And then for those who could, they went back home because they really wanted us to go back home. They went back home, and we have a country in Africa called Liberia, right? That was started by liberated slaves. I can't wait to get to the motherland and be able to see what was there. But yeah, there wasn't ever a plan. I'm gonna say there will never be a plan for us to be here because I'm definitely more optimistic than that. But I think we need to make our own. We need to stop waiting for people to make a plan.
Right. And
we got to make our plan.
That's the thing is the organization and making of a plan, and not necessarily waiting in the wings for someone to step up as a quote unquote leader for that to happen. We need to lead ourselves into what we know is right
and also understanding that everybody can't go.
That part. Everybody don't want to go. I mean, back to my boy Martin Luther King, right? A lot of people was like, why he starting trouble?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Everybody wasn't on his side.
It's good. It's good around here.
To give
that good white folk syndrome. It's good white folks.
And to
give respectability politics is trash. Right. And I said what I said.
And some of us were born from the Martins, and some of us were born from those slaves that were beaten very well into submission. So, to get them a little grace, they was, if you've never unlearned it, I am finding that as I go into 26 and older, it's like you're given a core to work with. And from there, some people are going to want to change and be aware. And some people are just, they're going to stay in old ways. So whether it pertains to your Blackness, your way of functioning in the workplace, whatever that is, you can only work with so much of what you've seen.
And
and that's not an excuse, but at the same time, that it should be taken into account.
Also, we have to realize another thing that I realized too, just like, there was trauma passed down from slavery.
Oh yeah.
Generation to generation with us. In the same way, things were passed on through their generations, through white folks.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you have the Karens who are concerned about why are you worried about what this man doing in the neighborhood?
Mm-hmm. Right. To the point that you confront
overreaching or you're overstepping
another adult.
And whereas to us,
you see somebody who has FedEx on their truck, but you're questioning why are you doing this? I'm delivering your packages, sir.
Yeah, and whereas to us, that is so out of the realm. Like when I see a lot of Karenish behavior, I hear the term has been simplified down to where you have people who not in the community are using it improperly. But at the same time, like to us, it is such a mind F to even think to stop a grown ass person who pays their own bills, who pays Georgia Power every month, or whoever they pay. Like that to us is such a wild thing, but to them it's regular. That's how they're raised.
Because you're negating white privilege.
Oh yeah.
That's the part that you're missing. Mm-hmm. It is what are you doing in my neighborhood?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
Right, because
that's the part that you're missing. Right. You're not speaking from a place of privilege.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing in my neighborhood? That's what that is about. And speaking of Karen and being used incorrectly, I think the one cool thing about our generation, we didn't have social media, meaning that by the time white folks got the stuff that we was saying, we was done with it.
Right. Oh my gosh, there are some things.
How they got it? We have moved on.
We're like,
like, I was somewhere the other day and I heard this white lady say, "You go, girl," and I was like, "Martin?"
Yeah,
not Martin,
right?
Martin? Oh goodness,
it's yeah.
That's one of the challenges of social media. One thing about our people, they're so innovative.
By the time it hits them, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. Like you saw those police come out with the picture of them with a folding chair.
We can't have nothing.
We can't.
Nothing. It's over.
And
we're going to have to make our own Twitter.
Rest in peace.
Even with that, though, then we have the infighting. It's tiring to try and think of things in such a big way, because we have issues on that side as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can't save everybody, right?
Right.
And this is exactly why I'm a Christian and I believe in the walk, even though I love Jesus and I drink and I cuss a little, judge your mama. But
Yes.
it ain't for everybody. Let those who have ears listen.
Right.
Okay. And for those who don't, it is what it is. You said a little bit earlier, some of us can't nobody tell us nothing. Well, then you'll be stuck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because there is no way that you can know as an individual everything you need to know to be successful in life. You can't. None of us have it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
It is within community that you learn and that you can get ideas, that you can get somebody to tell you, girl, nah, that's whack. Don't even do that. If you think you can do everything by yourself, you'll do nothing.
There was a comedian a few years back that, and with comedy, it's usually the things that are the most real and oftentimes sad that they use, to make light of things. And that was his thing, is that, Black people don't have a community. And he was talking about the difference between Black people and white people.
But that was intentional.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We watch things where we watch the risk takers and you jumping out of planes or you jumping off bridges. And I'm like, it must be nice to be that carefree.
Yep.
That you're creating situations to put yourself in danger.
I don't need to jump out of the plane. I just need to drive. I just need to drive from here to Lowe's.
Right.
That's enough risk I'm taking.
Right. Go to the store. Go to the
without
movies.
Getting pulled over.
I mean, it must be nice.
That police car get
careful.
behind. When that police car get behind you and you Black, the stress levels just. Even though you ain't done nothing wrong.
Right.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Now I'm a little.
I believe that speaks to privilege too. The idea of being carefree, because think about it as your average Black person. Most living paycheck to paycheck. Ain't nobody got time for no damn undue goddamn hospital bills because your ass decided to jump off a goddamn bridge.
Do you know what I
Ain't
think?
nobody doing that shit.
Let's go see the Titanic. Let's go see the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean. Like,
get no. And you don't have no Black people that's co-signing on that.
You got $50,000 sitting in the bank.
Baby, we're gonna mortgage the house so we can go see the Titanic.
Now I'm a little light bright, so I might want to do a little skydiving. But outside of I get what they're saying now.
Look.
But
it's a different generation. Y'all are the white kids generation. We was raised full Black. My kids, y'all white.
You know what?
You ain't have to do us like that.
Look,
we the last generation of Black kids for real.
Talking about skydiving. This is the militant one.
That girl is the one that you want to.
It's that girl. We're not gonna talk about the baby when she ain't here to defend herself.
Yeah. That's the one you want to wear.
She full on.
But when I say that, like, I'm being funny, but like there's a different level, right? Like y'all are just kids for real. Like when I look at my daughter, who's 13, and I love her very much. I'm like, she's a dingbat. Like the stuff she does.
Right. But she's just.
Because she's just a kid. She wasn't a little adult like we were forced to be.
Right. Absolutely.
Having a chance to be a kid.
Yes.
Right. So that's when I have to reel it back in myself. Like, you doing too much. Like, she's a real kid. You wasn't an actual kid at 13.
And I kind of go through that, like, that tug of war in my brain, because I think both of them will speak to the fact that although they did allow us space to be kids in a lot of areas, I always was like more mature. So I would take on stress. There was certain stuff they wouldn't tell me, especially when it came to like, anything adulthood, finances, stuff like that. They would not tell me because they know I would freak out. I would stress over it, all that stuff. So it's like that tug of war where it's like, okay, you're happy because your kid gets to be, on that dumb-ish. But at the same time, it's like, woo, I grew up a little different. You know what I'm saying?
But you're also the oldest. Oldest are different. I'm an oldest as well. It's like you're the third adult. You're the third parent almost.
I'll tell you what we messed up with too when we adopted.
You was the damn what they called it. You was the research project.
You were the
practice child.
Shit, we didn't know what the hell we was doing.
And that was another thing too, because when he was
we made all the
I
mistakes
stayed home. And
it happens.
Boy started talking when he was 2. It was like he wasn't talking, they were concerned, and then all of a sudden he was speaking in full sentences. And so I'm staying at home with him.
Tell the birth story.
The birth story? Oh. So I was in labor for almost 24 hours. They ended up, I was so scared. They got the 4 steps and everything. And when he finally came out, he wasn't making any noise. And so they immediately, they grabbed him. They're moving. They're calling for NICU to come down. And my mom is, what's wrong? And he's over there trying to figure out what's wrong. And they lay him down. They're moving him. And the doctor says, stop. And everybody puts their hands up and they look down. And the doctor is looking down. And he's looking up at the doctor, blinking slow. And the doctor says, ain't nothing wrong with this boy. And boy, that doctor spoke the truth.
Yes.
But he was like a little adult with me. Like I'd have full-on conversations with him at 3. He's always had a very big vocabulary. And so he would take on, our oldest who's adopted, we adopted out of birth order, and she had a lot of issues and she was running away. We're in bed one night. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. We've been put the little ones to bed. And he busts through our door. He says, Mom, Dad, I figured it out. It's probably about 8 or 9. Figured what out, son? And he said, how to keep Brittany in. We turn all the locks around so she can't get out. So this was on his mind at bedtime. You know what I'm saying? There had been nothing specific that happened that day. She had run away.
Yeah.
I think she had come back at that point. So I don't know. There was nothing specific though, but that's how his mind has been. Yeah. So even though we did our best to not try to parentify them, he took on stuff. He was one that we had to like simmer down, boy. This is an adult conversation. But he would offer some good insight sometimes.
Yeah,
My oldest was like that. And she was so damn nosy. She always knew what was going on. See, she knew enough to be quiet because she was like, if you say something, they're going to kick you out the room.
Right.
She'd be quiet, but then she'll talk about it later.
Well, and see, he was always bold enough to say it.
Because my child is my child. Because I used to love to hear the adults talk. Because that's where you'd hear all the tea.
Exactly. So, Mister, you want to ask your question again?
I didn't forget it. I have it written down.
Okay.
But you can ask it if you want to.
Stay off task.
Yeah. How long from your corporate
What was you asked? See, that's why
he said, how did I make my transition from corporate into entrepreneur?
Yeah.
And so it was a long transition. And if I'm really honest, I feel like I'm still transitioning. And the reason I say that is because I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I told you I got my first job when I was 25 years old. I got that job because I went back to school. Well, at the time I was a teacher. Right. And I was teaching in a Lutheran school. I went back to school and got my MBA because I knew I wanted to be like, I always knew I wanted to have my own business. Mm-hmm. I was fascinated by real estate. I went that route and I still am fascinated by real estate. But I realized that I don't want to make a career out of real estate. I just want to have some. Mm-hmm. So it took me a minute to get there. But really, from my first job, I was like, I'm just here until I make enough money to leave. So my journey has been, I've always had job side hustle. I definitely believe in multiple streams of income. You should have at least 2 to 3 because anything can happen to that main job.
Oh yeah.
Anything. You're not in control. If it's not your job, anything could happen. Downsides, upsides. You can't be on the side of the corner selling apples because you got all your eggs in one basket. Diversify. That's the first thing I would say. So I've done a lot of different things. With that first job, baby, I had a DJ business. I was on the radio. I had a radio show. I had a DJ business. I owned a hair store. Mm-hmm. Online hair store. We did a beauty expo. What did I do? I did real estate. We talked about real estate. I also, and I had a daycare center. Preschool.
What?
Yep.
For what age?
Yep.
They left their kids with you?
Babies.
Love kids. It's adults that are problematic.
Lutheran school.
Wait, that was very specific too. I was like, wait a minute now.
So this year, the past couple of years have been like an awakening for me specifically, for me personally. I will be 50 years old in June, and I want change. I want the life that I have supposed to be living years ago. What do I do at this point? How do I start that transition? Because I don't have that same amount of time. So how do I start that transition into entrepreneurship, into these ventures, so that I can get to that point of freedom and self-employment?
That's a great question. And I will answer it with a story. Okay. So the reason the name of my podcast is Bail Yourself Out is because bail are the letters of an acronym that I use to teach people how to build resilience in their life. So in order to do anything, in order to live the life that you want to live, you have to be resilient. Understand that everything ain't going to happen the way you want it to. Everything is going to go differently, but as long as you keep going, it will go. Yeah. Like that is the core, right? So bail is believe. That is the first thing that you need to do. The first thing you need to do is believe that you can. As a man thinketh, so is he. Yeah. That's the word.
Yes.
If you don't think you can, you won't.
Right.
And that's how I can tell the difference, honestly, between a person I can work with and a person that I can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
If you don't think you can, you won't.
Right.
Ain't nothing I can do for you. Jesus did all he could for you. Certainly I can't do no more.
That's right.
Right.
That's
very true.
It starts in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The second thing is you have to accept change as part of the process, meaning that things ain't going to go like you expected. That's just like any other thing in life.
Mm-hmm.
But number 3 is the most important thing. You have to inventory what you have. What skills do you have? Right. What can you do? Who's around you that can do some stuff? A large part of what I do in my business is because I am excellent at being resourceful. Mm-hmm. I know when I can't do something, but I know who I can call. Oh, yeah. I'll be like, oh, hold up. Let me call Yolanda. Let me call April. Mm-hmm. Let me call this one because I need this skill set. And so that comes with being part of a community and also really knowing the people that you can deal with. You can't do business with everybody.
Right.
That's right.
Even the people you love. Right. You got to understand how people are with money. People act real stupid with money. Mm-hmm. There's that. And then the other thing, the last thing is learn. And you want to learn from your experience, but then also you want to learn from the experiences of others. Don't be the person that got to fail at stuff that somebody already told you about.
Yes.
Have a teachable spirit.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Don't run into that brick wall.
Don't run into that. Look, our kids adopted in birth. The adopted one was the first one though. She was probably about 15 years old. He's talking to her and she's upset because she's being parented and she wasn't used to that. And he said, my job as your dad is to parent you. If you're driving and there's a brick wall in front of you, I'm going to tell you that brick wall is there so you don't hit it. And she looked at him bold as you please and said, I'd rather hit the brick wall.
Yep. And at that point, I said, what the? At that point, I'm looking, because that shit was hilarious to me. I had crazy some good shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You used that. You had that one locked and loaded.
Look.
And I want to hit that brick wall. I'm just like
what? You don't do nothing with that. The only thing
I know me.
As a mama, I'm like, well, baby, hit the gas. If you're going to hit it hard. Do your best. You know what I'm saying?
Do your best.
Don't be a monkey, be a gorilla. That's right. Do it.
That's if you're going to do it good. That's right.
That car,
I know me. I'm petty. I would have been like, so you're going to be a whole damn test dummy.
Look.
That would have been your name. Test dummy.
Look. And they have all been the type that And in a way, I admire it because it shows that you're willing to take risks. But at the same time, you got to take calculated risk. If
calculated risk.
Saying the
There's nothing wrong with risk.
Right. X, Y, and Z ends this way. Believe them and see what A, B, and C does. Like there's a fine line between being afraid of things, but if somebody's telling you this is how this is going to work, believe it. Don't make the same mistake that they did.
Sometimes it's weird though, because the decisions that I give the shortest amount of thought sometimes have the longest outcome of like consequences. And I'm like,
and that's
who made up adulthood? Why is that like
right?
Life be life and baby.
Right? I've been trying to give it back.
The stuff that I was like, pondered for maybe 3 minutes. And I was like, don't worry about it. That's fine. Comes back to bite me 2 months later. Why?
Look.
It was a 3-minute thought. It wasn't even that heavy. But I guess that's how life works.
I want to go back to the question for just a second because we jumped down a rabbit hole because I was thinking about something. Mm-hmm. Your question was, well, how do you get from teaching to living the life you want? Mm-hmm. And to me, that question is like saying, well, how do you get from South Carolina to New York? How you want to do it? You want to take a plane? You want to drive? You want to take 95? You want to take Route 1?
I want to fly.
So like, what does that look like for you, right? What do you want to do? I look at end result and then build backwards. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do?
It just popped in my head.
No, and that wasn't rhetorical. I was asking.
No, it just popped in my head. Okay. Our conflict as a couple is, like she just said, I want to fly to get there. Mm-hmm. Me, I want to drive the scenic route and enjoy the scenery a little bit. Mm.
I'm over the scenery route. I used to be like him, but now I want to.
Are we trying to avoid tolls? Like, what are we doing here?
I'm trying to fly there the quickest way.
So the question was my question. So we're going to fly. Now, let's talk about that destination. Because oftentimes what happens is when I say fly and he says drive, we end up flying. And once we get there, he realizes that the flight was the better choice.
Well, here was my litmus test when I was married. Mm-hmm. I have a 7-hour limit. I don't like anybody in the car after 7 hours. So if it's more than that, I cannot.
Mm-hmm. -4.
Okay. You have to understand your limit.
Right.
And -4 too. I mean, unless
and he's going to be driving. So, okay. Back to your question for me. This is part of the problem.
Okay.
There are so many things that I am interested in that it just ends up being, I just want to work for myself. I'm not a people person. So the idea of like reaching out to people, like that's not appealing to me. I've looked into instructional design and curriculum design, but we're also in the process of becoming certified couples coaches. The problem is trying to put energy and effort into that desired outcome while still having a career, while he still has his work, and having to manage time and energy of all of that. Because like I said, I'll be 50 in June and I look good, but on the inside, I'm tired.
I feel that.
You was tired.
Well, hold on 1 second.
If Angela Bassett don't get an excuse, you don't. And I meant to tell you that the other day on the phone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I will say this to you. I know you're standing at the bottom of the mountain and it looks like, oh, gee whiz, there's a lot to get to the top of the mountain. But I will say this to you. Stop looking at the mountain and start walking. You have some stuff you can use.
Yeah.
You know, I transitioned from being a teacher to an instructional designer. I ain't take no classes. You ain't got to take no classes. I know they just came out with a damn degree in instructional design. What the hell else do they teach besides what you learned in school to be a teacher? That shit just came out.
I got a whole degree in it.
But I'm just saying, it just came out in the last 10 years.
So
I was doing instructional design back in 2006, and it didn't even have a name then.
Yep. I graduated in 2009 with my specialist degree in instructional design. So I don't know what, like I said, the energy, the stamina to be able to focus on the different things. That's a difficult part right now.
Well, what I was saying is, like, I don't think you need any additional certifications or school.
Mhm.
Like, you can go with what you have, to be clear. I think you can. I think you can be a consultant. And you don't need to go and get clients yourself. There's a lot of ways to do that, right? You can get your resume together. And when I first started consulting, working for myself, I just had a couple of really trusted organizations that I used, that when I was looking for a contract, I would just reach out to them. Hey, I'm available. Here's my resume. Here's my rate. See what they got available. That's it. Doing contracting gigs is so much easier than getting a regular job. So much easier. But, that's if that's the way you want to go for it. Another thing that you could do is, you have your summers off. You're a teacher, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of contracts out there, and I don't know if this is your thing, but I've seen them because, I have a company, right? Where they want somebody to do summer school, or, and like put together summer school program, or like special needs students, something, or there's plenty of opportunity. The question is, like, what do you want to do? And how much time do you want to spend doing it? You could only answer those questions. And you might not even know the answer to that. And if you don't know the answer, that's okay too. My recommendation then would be to just try stuff, see what you like and see what you don't like, and then go from there. Don't just sit, because then you'll never get an answer. Like, my thing of it is this, and this is how I want to encourage you and anybody else who's listening. If you don't know what you want to do, that is okay. Just try stuff.
Right.
Just try it. Worst case scenario, you don't like it. Yeah, all right, cool. I'm going to do something else.
Again, I'm going to bring in the age thing, because while it's getting easier for me, there are people who that's a factor. So at my age, some would say it's too late to start anything like that. Or so what would you say to someone who's coming to you saying, I really want to do this, but I'm about to be 50 years old, and that type of change. And what would you say in terms of that?
What do you think?
Just keep going.
What? No, seriously. What do you think about it? Because like I said, I'm a Christian and I believe this thing for real. I believe if the Creator has given you a vision, He has given you a vision for you to fulfill, not for other people to understand.
Wow.
I mean, listen. We want to go Bible on you? I mean, how old was Abraham when he was told he was going to be the father of nations, and then the actual age he was when he actually had a baby? To the point where his wife laughed at him to his face.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And could you imagine how crazy he felt? Right? Because don't forget, there was a name change in there. He went from Abram to Abraham, which means father of many. This Negro had to walk around being called father of many every daggone day. Ain't had near one child. Near one.
Yep. A lot of Abrahams out there now.
Yep.
This is what I'm saying.
Out of wedlock.
So you have to decide, do you want to be understood, or do you want to do what you're supposed to be doing?
Right. I hear you.
Two things can be true.
So Ms. Kandice, what would you give, what kind of guidance would you give to somebody who isn't necessarily more so religious, more so spiritual, and maybe even has just been tumbling through adulthood and hasn't necessarily had the time to figure out that spirituality? To me, I just kind of feel like I'm at that point where, and this is why it was important to ask them, could I join this podcast? I feel like I just wake up and try to be a decent person. That's where I'm at. I don't know where I'm going to be 5 years from now. You can ask her. I broke down 8 times the other day in 10 minutes to her. Adulthood is it's weighing a lot on me. And so I told her earlier in the kitchen, I was like, maybe I need to look at some situations where I can do courses for 2 months and get in a higher paying job, and then figure out what I want to do from there. You know what I'm saying? Because the job market in our area is just not that lucrative unless you're in a certain spot or know somebody specifically. And what advice would you give to somebody who's in that type of field? Because restaurants are hiring every day, but are they paying? And even the fine dining ones, are they paying? Not enough for what you're going to have to deal with. So, I mean, what realistic advice would you have for someone in that scenario?
When I was about 18 years old, I probably was in the same space that you were. I grew up in church. I was a church kid, but I can't tell you that I really believed it. I was like, it's whatever, y'all tripping. And I will never forget, as long as I live, Pastor Jeannie Mayo. I don't know where she is, but she said something that I will remember for the rest of my life. And I will say this to you today. Unless you've ever really doubted, you've never believed.
Oh, wow.
Because you got to get this thing in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really know in whom you believe, and that's in you, everything else starts to fall in line. It's from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I can say to you, and listen, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I know in whom I have belief. I will say to you that whatever you want to call them, everybody calls them different stuff, but there is one God. If you want to know what you were created to do, you have to check with the Creator. Mm. There's no way outside, apart from the Creator, that you will have a path. Just you, anybody. Mm. And I said what I said on that one. I would urge you to find out what it is that makes sense to you. You know, whether it be church, a mosque. So say something to somebody, because it's within you. So I was in India in October, right? And I ain't never been to a Hindu temple. Like I went to a Hindu temple, Hindu temple. Right. I recently learned about meditation, and that's one of the things the Bible talks about all the time. And it's basically a way of centering your mind. In the last 2 years or so, I've really gotten into meditation and all like that. And I know a lot of Christian people are weird about that, whatever. Yeah. It works.
It works.
It works. Mm-hmm. But I will say to you this. I ain't never been around no Hindu people like that. I was sitting in a crowd meditating with 30,000 people. And I could tell you that God is here. I don't know what y'all call him.
Oh, yeah.
But he's here. Mm. I don't know what y'all call him, but I know what that feeling is, and he's here.
Wow.
Right.
Miss Kandice, how do you turn everything off to even get to a place to where you are able to do that?
So, please, I went through this journey in the last 2 years. There's this app I want you to get. It's called Headspace.
Okay.
Get the Headspace app.
Mm-hmm.
Start practicing meditating. Now, I'm going to tell you that it was a wild journey for me. Okay, let me just tell you that I didn't realize I had 3 simultaneous different thoughts going on at the same time until I started meditating. Like, why is it so loud? And I'm wondering why I'm tired all the time.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I going to cook for dinner? I got to get the dry cleaning. You got to sign that permission slip for your daughter. Like all of those, all at the same time.
All of that.
I hear them all.
Yes.
Baby, your mind is your most powerful asset.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Until you can learn how to control this thing, everything's going to be out of order.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
You got to learn how to drive this thing. You got to learn how to be quiet and learn how to just shut it down and focus your attention. It starts with being mindful, being able to say, this is what I'm going to put my attention on. And I promise you, when you start getting in the habit of just listening to your breath, and just slowing down your mind, I promise you, you'll be like, wait a minute. That's the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's in you. The problem with this generation, and I'm part of it kinda, is we so damn entertained. Yep. We got the TV, we got social media. Like, there's always something buzzing and beeping to get your attention. You can't even drive in a car and it be damn quiet.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything does not require your attention. Y'all, you remember back in the day when you used to watch the news and it was just Dan Rather, whomever, just reading the news matter-of-factly, right? Judgment. That night to be like, whoa, and did you know? And they be putting all this stank on it.
Right.
And then they got a ticker going along at the bottom. These things are designed to get your attention.
Even I've noticed that over the years, the news has changed.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's changed. And if they have your attention, they have you.
Yep.
And then coming from that type of source, it has to be true.
Yeah.
Because it's the news.
Part.
And you know, I find myself personally, the car driving back and forth to work is that's my piece. So if I decide whether if I'm going to listen to Kandice talk junk on her podcast, or I'm going to listen to nothing at all, just hear the engine roar. But a lot of times I'll just shut the radio off and I'll just think on the way to work, and that's the piece to me. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you just got to turn the world off.
Yeah.
You know,
you do. And I really think, like, people who are my children's age, it's a little bit different because, I mean, when in our age range, TV had the decency to damn go off at night.
Right.
Remember that?
Right. You couldn't even watch nothing unless you had HBO.
Oh, hey, you fall asleep and them colored lines be on the screen.
Yeah.
That's right. This damn thing don't never go off.
And I feel like it's weird because I feel like maybe my generation, you know, some will say millennials are not legit. I kind of feel that's where I range, like a little bit millennial, a little bit Gen Z. But I feel like where the zillennial range is at, you know, we didn't get the brunt of social media quite as much as Gen Z, but it's just hard to turn that stuff off, especially I feel like once you get into adulthood and it gets real, like you have bills, you know. Mom and dad help, they do.
I remember telling him and his sister, them people don't care what you had for lunch.
That part.
And look, as years went by, I said, you know what? They don't.
But we're out here
now.
Look, I might go on there.
My current situation.
I might go on there if I'm in Atlanta and I'm not a nice bistro spot. I might post a little picture of my soup.
Where the hell you found good to eat in Atlanta, child?
Look, now you got to keep in mind where we're from. You got to keep in mind we country.
Yeah, because
you got to keep in mind we country.
Yeah.
So all of it is lights. Bright and shiny and
to us, yes, because the options are it's about 10 McDonald's in Augusta. We ain't got so much to work with. So
all right.
But you know, if I find a nice brunch place, I put it in my story. But you know, and I think even that's a part of, you know, adulthood and navigating social media, you know, knowing what to post, what to not, you know, and I think that's where this difference comes in sometimes with Gen Z and the older people. But I will say that's one thing I can find myself being familiar with them on is sometimes, and you know, they're younger, so you know, they're worried about the next TikTok update. But for me, it's like, okay, this bill is coming up. This is coming up. How do I turn that off to go to sleep without
meditation?
Yeah, and
that's an option.
I did download that app, by the way. I am going to look into that.
Headspace is a thing. I would start slow, start like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then you'll generally work your way up. And then you'll get to the point where it's like, wait a minute, that was 15 minutes?
Okay.
Yep.
You know, and there are different types of people. So if you, like, there's some people who will guide you the whole way. There's some people who don't talk at all. Like, you'll see what you like and what you don't like. So that's part one. You got to get your mind under control because that's your greatest asset.
Also, one thing I wanted to add is hobby. Because hobbies sometimes will allow you to focus too.
Yeah, to get your
facts.
One of the things I do is I work on cars on the side. So even though it's work, it's therapy for me sometimes because I can focus on what I'm doing and it allows me to focus on just that one thing.
Yeah.
And you know, a hobby, the puzzles. You know, the simple things. You get you a puzzle. They have puzzle apps on the phones. You can do it on the iPad. I do a lot of crosswords, things like that. You know, it just
I got a little senior citizen.
Slow your mind down.
I got a couple bingo apps on here.
No, but these are facts. No, he's telling the truth. Like, so I have hobbies too. I love to cook. I love to bake. At any given time, I got cakes going in my kitchen. I've more than once been told, "Oh, why don't you open up a store?" It's like, can a nigga have a hobby?
Right. I crochet. And people are always telling me, why don't you sell it? Because then that's going to suck the joy from it. Because people,
they don't get it.
Are going to be asking, when am I going to get my scarf? $5, right? $5, ma'am.
But
it's been a week.
Sidebar, before we get too far ahead, I will buy some chocolate chip cookies at any given time.
You know what?
Well, wait, I also
be great.
I'm a Cricut mom, and I also make stuff. I don't say I'm a crafter because I'm too cool to craft.
You know what?
But I'm too cool to craft.
Big old nerd.
I made this shirt with my podcast logo on it.
Look at that.
I made the shirt.
Look at that.
I'm about to make a hoodie later on the week, but that's not the point. No, but seriously, it is like, you need an opportunity for your brain to focus on something that's just enjoyable. He's 100% right with that. Mm-hmm. And then it is in doing those things. Okay, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Remember I told you I had a DJ business. Remember I told you I was on the radio and all like that. Okay, let me tell you where that came from.
Okay.
In undergrad, I was a music major initially. Because at one point in my life, I thought I wanted to be a musician professionally, and that's what I did. And for the early part of my life, I spent every damn weekend working, right? Because when you sing, you work when everybody else is off, right? I mean, restaurant work is very similar. And that was when I had the epiphany that this is not what I want to do. I do like to sing. I sing in church, it's cool. I do a couple of things every once in a while, if you know type thing. But I just like singing. I don't want to be a singer, and that's okay too. And so that's why earlier I was encouraging Margaret, like, yo, if you just want to try some stuff and see what it do, I would suggest the very same to you. See what you like. Start in the areas of your interest and just try stuff and see what you like. I honestly ended up doing what I do, doing that very same thing, because I didn't even know about what I do when I was picking things I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I had no idea about this. I never even heard of it. I grew up in the ghetto. It was a lot of things. So...
Right.
And think about us as a community. No shade. I love my Black people, but we got to be honest, right? We are not exposed to a lot of things, right? Most of us got people who do hair. You might know somebody who is a mechanic. You might know somebody who's a plumber, electrician. You might got a teacher in your family. If you're lucky, you might have... Oh, Lord. Stop trying to damn rap. We need plumbers. Right? Shit.
Now wait, Catherine, I do music now. I'm still 26. Kandice, I'm sorry. Wait, I do music now. I'm 26. Wait a minute now.
There's a difference between being 26. He has his music posted online. He writes. He is a wonderful writer. It's amazing.
But do you want to be a writer, or do you just want to write music? Those are two different things. And by the way, you're not 40. There is a thing with being a 40.
Definitely. Oh, no, I get that. By then,
there's that.
Career.
Right.
Yeah, I'm 48, and I still got partners that I went to school with. My album dropping next month. No shade, you know what I'm saying?
But at this point, it should be like something you do on your side. Do it as fun. As you said, your hobby.
It's like you're going to have your grandkids sing the hooks?
Right. There we go.
If you're going
not the grandkids sing hooks.
But my emphasis, with the kids is if you're going to do something, do your project for you. Don't do it to become this great big recording artist or star.
Right. Yeah.
Do something that you want to put out there for yourself.
And I don't even think that's
great creativity. And people like it, they're gonna like it. And
there's 100% nothing wrong with that. But in terms of now, I like to say this, and I haven't said this in this pod, the career coach. And the reason I say that is because I want people to live the life that they want to live.
Yes.
Which is kind of different,
I think, that's
than
the dream.
Career, right? I mean, they should coincide.
Right. Yeah, they should.
Right? But so what I would say to you, dear, is you need to kind of look at what kind of life do you want to have? What do you value? Do you value money? For me, I valued my time.
Yes.
So that's why I went into IT, because I could work from home. I can be remote. That was very, very, very important to me.
Yes.
True.
You know where they have an upper hand? Have you heard that your entire life? Have you not heard that same thing?
I said it, so it sounds different. You the mama.
Yes.
So
Thank you,
know what? You
Candice.
see that?
Thank you,
They didn't hear
Candice.
it.
Yes.
Candice,
They
we
didn't hear
pulled them out of public school.
Miss Whitaker hosts of Bail Yourself Out. There we go. Ladies and gents.
See what happens when you put
That's the end of the show. That's the end of the show right there.
Out of public school. We had, my friend and I owned a learning center. Pulled them out of public school, and all they had to do was work on their passion and crafting
wait a minute.
that passion.
It's a little different for one of us. For me.
You telling me you raised Willow and Jaden over there?
Look, I tried.
She tried.
And all they wanted to do was be William and Jade. Like what? Whose parents do? I told them we can't be Raven Simone's parents and move across country for y'all. But what we did do, my kids have recorded in a studio before they were teenagers. Their dad had paid for studio time for them.
Girl, I couldn't write that then. That song was trash.
It was so adorable.
It was garbage.
Sung the hook.
It was garbage. And if that song ever leaks out, Reagan, I will be into your life and I will be your only child. I mean,
Mama has.
Oh, you have the song?
So
well, I will be the father.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's the thing. We've always taught them success is what you decided.
It's relative. Yes.
And I told my daughter one day, I said, look, there are people who work at McDonald's full time. That's what they do. That's what they want to do. They take care of themselves and they're happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever it is, because our generation was, you got to go to college. You got to go to college. Well, here I am, 3 degrees later, $250,000 in debt, 50 years old, trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And I didn't want that for my kids. And so we always open that path. Our kids, I have tried to push them. But you know what? I'm realizing that their dad is more grounded. And so they have a little of him and a little of me. So my kids are the type that'll step one foot out the door and say, I don't know, I got to come back in and rethink it. So, but we have always told them success is relative.
And one of the things that I tried to get across to them is like in this job search, and I know you want to be happy about what you do, but right now, just get you a damn job to pay the bills.
That part.
Right.
Build your money up.
Right.
Then
right.
Focus on what you want to do.
Have the side hustles.
Get the side hustles going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying do anything, but there are jobs that you can do that may not be in your liking right now, but it's going to bring you money.
Get you closer to, right.
Then you can start.
Let me put these glasses on because I'm blind as hell. So Miss Whitaker, the host of Bill Yourself Out.
Your dogs will holler.
So here we go. Where he answered this advice, it is very unfortunate. So I have, for some time, I would say, I spent quite a while self-employed. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy that. I am not...
What'd you do?
I am naturally rebellious. And I mean, rules are rules. They're made.
We got it on tape. We got it recorded.
Oh, anyways, yep. I am naturally rebellious to an extent. Rules are meant to be in place. But rules are also meant to be challenged and bended. And I don't.
You're pushing it.
I hold on that.
GHT.
Like I said, rules are meant to be bended sometimes. There's a lot of rules that are dumb. The way we do taxes are dumb. The way we vote for these presidents are dumb, but neither here nor there.
Right, but if you don't do your taxes, your ass is going to jail. And if
you're
you
right.
don't
We're not going to
you
jail.
might end up on a plantation.
We ain't got to worry about that, Miss Whitaker. I'm not going to jail. Oh, no. Yeah. Now, I do owe this year. So
we don't fool with the IRS, honey.
Oh, yeah. I do owe this year, so I will be filing in April, but neither here nor there. I enjoyed my self-employed work a lot more than I did my work.
You didn't answer my question. What did you do self-employed?
So I did Uber and I did Grubhub. I kept track of my expenses. I treated it like a real job. You know, I know some people that do that in their fun time, but me, I was like, let me stay on top of these expenses. Let me stay on top of what I do. If I eat while I'm working, that is going towards my, taxes and stuff like that. So a
lot of people do that. And like, I've known people who like got jobs where they could drive cars across the country and crap for Uber. I don't know how you do that, but I've heard.
And even I've gotten some people who my vibe, like, they vibe with me so well. They're like, okay, well, let's do something outside of the app. A little Cash App, a little Venmo, keep the government out your business.
Okay, so it sounds like you got a car service.
I had.
But.
So this is the thing.
What?
A lot of times we have our main source of employment, then we use side hustles until we get to the point where, okay, we're established now. Those side hustles, I can focus and they can become our main thing. He did.
Yeah.
He did
and
first.
So with the wear and tear on vehicles and things like that, and not having another source of income, it got to the point where it's like, you're simply delivering now to pay for gas or to pay for repairs.
And then it got real bad.
And then COVID.
It got real bad. COVID happened. And then they was going to give me one of their spare vehicles. And the day after I turned my vehicle, that spare vehicle alternator or whatever went out.
Transmission. I ain't never seen that like that.
That's expensive too.
It was hurtful. Yeah. But at any rate, we found that we're here now. And now, unfortunately, I am at a job that I do enjoy.
Thank you for listening to this episode with our special guest. Please join us for part 2 with our exciting guests on the next episode of the Beyond I Do podcast. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please make sure to like this episode and also subscribe to our podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Beyond I Do podcast.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.